Hello, everyone. I'm Gary Laubach, along with Mike Joseph. This is Behind the Mic. The Leopards 2-0 now in the Patriot League after a terrific win over Fordham. A comeback victory down 10-0 going into the fourth quarter, and they come back and win the ball game 14-7. Leopards find themselves at 2-0 in the Patriot League for the first time since 2013. And Mike and I remember that year because that was the year we did win a Patriot League championship. But it's Harvard. It's Harvard. They game number 20 against them. Tim Murphy knows Lafayette very well. They didn't play last year, but the year before, 42-0. Harvard wins that football game. Lafayette's only beaten Harvard 3 times in those 19 games and have lost 5 in a row. And I guess the first question to ask about this football game is we're 2-0 in the Patriot League, riding a high. And Mike, you and I have both played some football. I played in high school. You played in college. This is a ball game that doesn't have the same sort of meaning to the Leopards in terms of league play. So what message do you send them to get them up and to play a really tough game against an outstanding opponent?
I really don't think John's going to have any problem. I think it's just, again, preaching that same message that he's been sending from the beginning of the year is one game at a time. Build on what you're doing. And honestly, for him, I think it's just one rep at a time. It goes back to putting one good play on top of another. So I really don't think it matters whether it's Patriot League or Ivy League. I really don't think he actually worries about wins and losses right now. I think he's just worried about building some sort of sense of we can win and we can execute, which they've done in key situations. So I'm really not sure if it's worried about Harvard or if it's Bucknell or whoever it's going to be. I mean, again, John Garrett, he's got that message going through that locker room, and they've been fantastic. I think going to Harvard this week, you're going to face athleticism, you're going to face size. And physical strength. And those are the things that they've always faced when they've gone to Harvard. But they haven't faced maybe a quarterback that's kind of getting his feet wet like Harvard does.
Yeah, as Mike alludes to the fact that the quarterback is a freshman, first freshman to start a game for Harvard since Ryan Fitzpatrick. And he turned out to be a pretty good guy. I mean, he got a lot of play, and in fact is still playing in the NFL. But it is a team that's 2-2. It is a team that beat Georgetown by a 41-2 score. They're 1-1 in the Ivy, coming off a loss against Cornell. So they're going to be hungry and very hungry, and they want to send a message for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they've got to be very disappointed that they lost to Cornell. The first time Cornell's beat them in 12 years. I watched Cornell against Yale, and I've now seen them against Harvard. They are a good football team. They have a very good quarterback. They throw the ball very well. They give a lot of different formations. So in a ways, they remind me a little bit of Lafayette. So I think Harvard, they got to have a good week of practice. I think we're coming off a loss. They're coming home. I'd rather see this game be here at Lafayette, but I think Harvard's going to be hungry for a win. They're going to come at you hard. Tim Murphy's a fantastic coach. They do a wonderful job. But I think Lafayette is riding such a high right now that they can go in there, do the same things they did, play good, solid defense, do just enough offensively, and you kind of get the feel where Lafayette, 14 points isn't enough for John. He needs more. 21, 28 points might be enough.
It will be a freshman quarterback, Jake Smith, who will be in the back. But obviously the most dangerous player on the football field is Justice Shelton Mosley. Harvard calls him the best punt returner and kick returner they have ever had on campus. He's also an outstanding wide receiver. They've got 2 decent running backs, but we certainly have to pay a lot of attention to Shelton Mosley.
Well, he's fantastic. He's a guy that can change a game. We saw a couple of weeks ago against Villanova the way they can return punts. And I talked about it on Inside the Huddle. We have to cover punts. We have to get a great day again out of Michael Turk. We have to get a great job out of covering and kind of keeping him in the box. And do you want to kick to him? Do you want to kick away? Do you want to make sure that you kick the ball high, try to get fair catches? These are different ways I think that the Coach Nodelberg, the special teams coach, will work against a guy like Mosley, who he gets his hands on the ball in the open field. I mean, everything's a punt return. Whether it's a catch in the flat, down the field, or a punt return, it's not just punt return. You need to worry about him all over the field.
Georgetown punted to him, and he returned it 91 yards. And by the way, if you want to learn a little bit about punt returns, well, you have to go and take a look at your segment this week.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I mean, we talked primarily this week about coverage, about using our gunners who have been fantastic, guys like Yasir Thomas and Deshaun Brown getting down the field. Michael Schifford, who's a little banged up, but Ryan Dickens getting down the field and facing him up, making him go left and right. So our punt team has been fantastic, and a guy like Michael Turk who can lay it up high can negate that entire punt return.
Mike and I were hoping to go to Harvard to see Mickey Fine and say hello to him. He's on the coaching staff at Harvard, but this ball game is not on LSN. It is on the Ivy League network, but I believe there's a fee attached to watching it on the Ivy League network. We, of course, will be back the following week when Bucknell comes to town for the next big Patriot League matchups. That's Behind the Mic. Enjoy the Harvard game. I'm Gary. He's Mike. See you next week.